Captain Jake Morrison sat in his chair on the bridge of the UHS Defiance. The ship moved slowly through space near the Vega system. Jake looked at the stars outside the windows. His crew was doing their normal work. They were checking planets and looking for new things in space. Amy Rodriguez worked at her station. She was the chief engineer. Her job was to keep the ship running. She checked the engines and made sure everything worked right. Amy was good at fixing things. She could make broken machines work again with simple tools. Ben Carter stood at the weapons station. He was the tactical officer. His job was to protect the ship. Ben knew how to use all the ship's weapons. He also knew how to fight if enemies came aboard. Ben was always ready for trouble. Lisa Turner sat at the communications station. She talked to other ships and planets. Lisa could speak many alien languages. She was very good at her job. Lisa could fix radios and make them work even when they were broken. Dan Phillips worked at the science station. He studied planets and stars. Don knew a lot about alien technology. He could look at strange machines and figure out how they worked. Dan always carried his research tablet with him. It had all his important work on it. The Defiance was not a warship. It was made for exploring space. The crew looked for new planets where humans could live. They also studied alien life forms. The ship had some weapons, but not many. It was built for science, not fighting. Jake looked at his watch. They had been in this system for 3 days. Planets and one gas giant. Nothing special. Tomorrow, they would move to the next system. This was how exploration worked. Most days were boring. But sometimes they found amazing things. Lisa suddenly looked up from her station. Her face was worried. She pressed buttons on her control panel. Strange sounds came from her speakers. She listened carefully and then turned to Jake. "I'm getting something on the long-range sensors," Lisa said. "It's big. Really big. And it's coming this way fast." He could see the readings on her screen. There was a large object moving toward them. It was much bigger than their ship. "How big is it?" Jake asked. "At least 10 times our size," Lisa said. "Maybe bigger. Captain, it's not moving like a normal ship. It's moving too fast, too smooth." Ben turned from his station. "Captain, should I charge the weapons?" Jake thought for a moment. In empty space, no human ships were supposed to be here. If this was an alien ship, it might be dangerous. But it might also be friendly. Jake had to make a choice. "Not yet," Jake said. Lisa tried to talk to them, see if they answer. Lisa worked at her station. She sent radio messages in different languages. She tried human languages first. Then she tried the few alien languages she knew. She waited for an answer. Nothing came back. The alien ship kept getting closer. Now they could see it on the main screen. It was huge and dark. It looked like a weapon. Sharp edges stuck out from its sides. Red lights blinked along its hull. This was definitely a war. "Ship captain," Dan said from his station. "I'm scanning their ship. The technology is very advanced. Much more advanced than ours. I think they could destroy us easily if they wanted to." Jake felt his stomach get tight. His crew was good, but they were not fighters. The Defiance was not built for war. If these aliens wanted to fight, his people would probably die. "Lisa, keep trying to talk to them," Jake said. "Den, charge the weapons, but don't point them at the alien ship yet. Amy, make sure our engines are ready to run if we need to." The alien ship stopped moving when it was close to the Defiance. It was so big that it blocked out the stars. Jake could see gun ports along its sides. This ship could probably destroy a whole planet if it wanted to. A new voice came from Lisa's speakers. It was deep and rough. The voice spoke in broken human language. The words were hard to understand, but Jake could figure out what it meant. "Human ship, you will stop your engines. You will surrender your vessel. You will prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in your destruction." Jake looked at his crew. Amy's hands were shaking. Ben's face was angry. Lisa looked scared. Dan was still staring at his readings. The alien ship was so powerful that resistance seemed impossible. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human exploration ship Defiance," Jake said into the radio. "We are on a peaceful mission. We mean no harm. We request safe passage through this system." The alien voice came back quickly. It sounded amused. Humans do not request. Humans obey. You are primitive beings. Your species should not be in space. You will surrender now, or we will disable your ship and take you anyway. Jake closed his eyes for a moment. He thought about his crew. These people trusted him to keep them safe. He thought about Earth and all the human colonies. If he surrendered, what would these aliens learn about humanity? What would they do to his people? Sorry, Jake said into the radio, but I cannot surrender my ship. The alien voice became angry. Then you have chosen destruction, human. Your ship will be disabled. Your crew will be taken. You will regret your foolish choice. The alien ship's weapons began to glow. Jake could see energy building up in the gun ports. He turned to his crew. Everyone hold on, Jake said. This is going to hurt. The alien weapon hit the Defiance like a giant hammer. Blue lightning danced across the ship's hull. All the lights went out at once. The main computer screen went black. The engines stopped working. Even the air recycling system shut down. Jake felt his body lift from the floor as the artificial gravity failed. He grabbed onto his chair to keep from floating away. Around him, his crew held onto their stations. Emergency lights flickered on and off, then died completely. The bridge became dark except for the stars outside. Port Jake called out in the darkness. Main power is completely dead, Amy said from somewhere near the engineering station. The electromagnetic pulse fried everything connected to the main power grid. Engines, computers, life support, everything. Weapons are offline, Ben said. His voice was angry. I can't even get a reading on anything. It's like the whole weapons system never existed. Communications are down too, Lisa said. I can't send or receive anything. The radio's completely dead. Dan's voice came from the science station. Captain, according to my handheld scanner, we have maybe 6 hours of breathable air left. After that, we start suffocating. The temperature is already dropping. We'll freeze before we run out of air. Jake floated in the darkness and tried to think. The aliens had disabled his ship perfectly. No power, no weapons, no way to call for help. His crew would die slowly in the cold darkness of space. This was probably what the aliens wanted. They would come back later to collect the bodies. Amy, Jake said, what do we have that still works? Amy was quiet for a moment. Jake could hear her moving around in the dark. She was checking things with her hands. The emergency batteries in our personal equipment still work, Amy said. Toolkit has power. Some of the handheld devices survived. The pulse only affected things connected to the main power system. The cargo bay, Ben said suddenly. The mining equipment in the cargo bay runs on separate power cells. It might still work. Jake felt a small spark of hope. The Defiance was carrying mining equipment to the outer colonies. Drills, explosives, cutting tools. All designed to work independently in case of power failures on mining stations. Amy, take Ben and go check the cargo bay, Jake said. See what still works? Lisa, you and Dan stay here. Try to find anything that can help us survive longer, Amy. And Ben floated through the dark corridors toward the cargo bay. Jake could hear them bumping into walls. Without gravity, moving through the ship was difficult, but they had to try. Jake floated over to Dan's station. The science officer was using a small flashlight to look at his handheld scanner. What are you finding? Jake asked. The alien ship is still out there, Don said. It's not moving. I think they're waiting to see if we die. My scanner shows their technology is incredible. But Captain, I found something interesting. Dan turned his scanner toward Jake. On the small screen, Jake could see energy readings from the alien ship. Their ship uses some kind of antimatter. Power system, Dan said. It's very advanced, but it's also very dangerous. If something went wrong with their power system, the explosion would be huge. Jake looked at the readings. He did not understand the science, but he understood danger. The alien ship was powerful, but it was also like a giant bomb floating in space. Amy's voice came through the darkness from the corridor. Captain, we found something good. A few minutes later, Amy and Ben floated back onto the bridge. Amy was carrying a small device that glowed with soft light. Ben had several tools floating around him. The mining equipment still works, Amy said with excitement in her voice. The power cells are fine. We have drilling charges, cutting lasers, even some small explosives for breaking up asteroids. More importantly, Ben added, we have the portable life support unit from the mining suit. It can keep us alive for maybe 2 more days. Amy attached the life support unit to the bridge's emergency connections. Slowly, Jake could feel air moving again. It was not much, but it was something. I also found this, Amy said, holding up a device that looked like a radio. It's the emergency communicator from the mining equipment. It's designed to work even when everything else fails. Lisa took the device and looked at it carefully. I can work with this. It's not very powerful, but I might be able to send a signal to the nearest human colony. Jake felt hope growing in his chest. His crew was not giving up. They were finding ways to survive. But survival was not enough. The aliens thought humans were weak. They thought disabling the ship would end the fight. Jake wanted to prove them wrong. Don, Jake said, keep studying that alien ship. I want to know everything about their technology. Amy, Jake continued. I want you to see if we can move this ship. We don't need to go fast. We just need to be able to move. Ben, Jake said, look at those mining charges. I want to know if they can be used as weapons. Lisa, Jake finished. Try to contact the human fleet. His crew looked at him in the dim light. They understood what he was thinking. They were not going to wait to die. They were not going to surrender. We're going to fight back. Captain, Amy said quietly, are you thinking what I think you're thinking? Jake looked out at the alien ship through the bridge windows. It sat there like a giant predator, waiting for its prey to die. The aliens thought they had one. They thought humans were too weak and stupid to be dangerous. They disabled our ship, Jake said. They think that means we're finished. They think we'll just float here and die like good little primitive beings. Jake smiled in the darkness. It was not a nice smile. They're about to learn that humans don't give up that easily. For the next 2 days, the crew of the Defiance worked in secret. They used the dim light from their emergency equipment to see. They worked quietly so the aliens would not know what they were doing. Amy used her tools to connect the mining equipment to the ship's systems. It was dangerous work. One mistake could kill them all. Ben helped Amy move the heavy drilling charges through the ship. They had to be very careful. These explosives were made to break apart asteroids. They were much more powerful than normal weapons, and placed them in special locations throughout the ship's hull. If they exploded at the right time, they would turn the Defiance into a giant missile. Lisa worked on the emergency communicator. She made it stronger by connecting it to pieces of the ship's broken radio system. Slowly, she got it working better. She could now send messages much farther into space. She sent a coded message to the human colonies. Help was coming, but it would take time. Dan studied the alien ship with his scanner. He learned many things about their technology. The aliens used antimatter for power. This made them very strong, but also very dangerous. Dan also discovered something else. The alien ship had been in this system for a long time. They were not just passing through. They were guarding something. Jake watched his crew work. He felt proud of them. Most people would have given up by now. But his crew kept fighting. They found ways to make broken things work. They found hope where there should be none. On the 3rd day, the alien ship moved closer to the Defiance. Jake could see smaller ships leaving the big alien vessel. The aliens were coming to check on their prisoners. They expected to find dead humans floating in a cold, dark ship. Everyone, get ready, Jake told his crew. Remember the plan. We have to make them think we're dying. The crew quickly hid their work. They disconnected the life support unit and put it away. They turned off their lights. They made the ship look dead again. Then they waited. The alien boarding party arrived in a small shuttle. Jake could hear them cutting through the ship's hull. They were coming aboard. Jake and his crew floated in the darkness, pretending to be barely alive. The aliens entered the bridge. They wore strange armor and carried weapons that glowed with energy. Jake could see them clearly now. They were tall and thin, with gray skin and large black eyes. They looked at the humans like they were looking at insects. The alien leader spoke in broken human language. You are still alive. This is surprising. Most primitive species die quickly when their ships are disabled. Jake floated weakly near his captain's chair. He made his voice sound desperate and scared. Please, we're dying. Our life support is failing. We need help. The alien leader made a sound that might have been laughter. Humans are even weaker than we thought. You beg for mercy like children. We'll give you anything, Jake said, making his voice shake. We have information about human colonies. We have technology. Just please don't let us die. The alien leader became interested. Information? What kind of information? Defense codes, Jake lied. Locations of human military bases. Weaknesses in our ships. I'll tell you everything if you just give us some air to breathe. The alien leader looked at his soldiers. They seemed to be talking in their own language. Jake could not understand the words, but he could tell they were excited. They thought they had found something valuable. Very well, the alien leader said. We will give you enough life support to keep you alive. 8. But you will tell us everything about human defenses. If you lie to us, you will die slowly and painfully. Aliens brought in a small life support unit from their shuttle. It was much better than the one the humans had been using. Clean air began flowing through the ship again. Jake felt strength returning to his body, but he continued to act weak. Thank you, Jake said. I'll tell you whatever you want to know. For the next several hours, Jake told the aliens lies about human technology. He said human ships were slow and weak. He said human weapons were primitive. He said human colonies had no defenses. The aliens believed every word. While Jake talked, his crew continued their secret work. Amy finished connecting the mining charges to a remote detonator. Ben calculated the best explosion pattern to destroy the alien ship. Lisa kept in contact. With the approaching human rescue fleet, Dawn continued studying the alien technology. The alien leader was very pleased with Jake's information. You humans are even more pathetic than we imagined. Your species will be easy to conquer. We will return to our ship now and prepare for a full invasion of human space. Jake pretended to be relieved. Thank you for sparing us. We'll do whatever you want. The alien leader looked at Jake with disgust. You will remain here as prisoners. When our invasion fleet arrives, you will be taken to our home world as slaves. Consider yourself lucky. Most humans will simply be destroyed. The aliens left the ship and returned to their vessel. Jake watched them go through the bridge windows. As soon as they were gone, he turned to his crew. Did everyone hear that? Jake asked. They're planning to invade human space. They think we're weak and helpless. Amy floated over to her control panel. The charges are all set, Captain. You can detonate them whenever you're ready. Ben checked his weapons. I've calculated the blast pattern. If we hit them right, we can breach their antimatter containment system. Lisa looked up from her communicator. The human rescue fleet will be here in 6 hours. Admiral Kate Sullivan is leading them with 5 ships. Dan studied his scanner readings. Captain, I've figured out what they're guarding in this system. There's a planet nearby that they've been mining. It's full of valuable metals, but their mining has made it unstable. Jake looked at his crew. These brave people had turned their broken ship into a weapon. They'd fooled the aliens completely. Now, they had a chance to strike back. When the human fleet arrives, the aliens will try to destroy them, Jake said. That's when we'll hit them. We'll show these aliens what happens when they underestimate humanity. The crew prepared for battle. They had spent 3 days preparing for this moment. Soon, the aliens would learn that disabling a human ship was not the end of the fight. It was just the beginning. 6 hours later, Lisa's communicator started beeping. She looked at the screen and smiled. Captain, they're here. 5 human ships just entered the system. Admiral Kate Sullivan is leading them in the UHS Vengeance. Jake looked through the bridge windows. He could see bright lights in the distance. The human rescue fleet was approaching fast. But he also saw something else. The alien ship was powering up its weapons. Red lights were flashing along its hull. The alien leader's voice came through their communicator. He sounded angry and excited. More humans have come to die. Perfect. We will destroy them all and show the galaxy how weak your species is. The alien ship began moving toward the human fleet. Its weapons were charging up. Jake could see energy building in the gun ports. The aliens were preparing to attack his people. Amy, Jake said quietly, is everything ready? Amy nodded. She held a small device in her hand. It was the remote detonator for all the mining charges they had placed throughout the ship. Ready, Captain? Just say the word. Ben, Jake said. Are you sure about the explosion pattern? Ben looked at his calculations one more time. If we hit them in the right spot, we can breach their antimatter containment. The explosion will be much bigger than just our mining charges, Lisa Jake said. Can you contact Admiral Sullivan? Lisa worked at her communicator. After a moment, she nodded. I have her, Captain. Jake took the communicator. Admiral Sullivan, this is Captain. Morrison of the Defiance. Do not attack the alien ship yet. We have a plan. A woman's voice came through the speaker. Jake, thank God you're alive. We thought you were dead. Are you and your crew okay? No. We're fine, Admiral. But listen carefully. We've turned our ship into a weapon. When you engage the aliens, we're going to ram them. Our explosion should damage their power system enough for you to finish them. There was silence on the communicator for a moment, and Admiral Sullivan spoke again. Jake, that's suicide. There has to be another way. Admiral, these aliens are planning to invade human space. They think we're weak and primitive. We need to show them they're wrong. We need to show the galaxy that humans don't give up. Jake could hear other voices talking in the background on Admiral Sullivan's ship. Finally, she spoke again. What do you need us to do? Keep them busy, Jake? Said, make them focus on you. We'll come at them from the side when they're not expecting it. The human fleet spread out and began approaching the alien ship. Jake watched as the aliens turned all their attention to the new threat. They thought the disabled human ship was harmless. They had forgotten about Jake and his crew completely. Dan, Jake said, start uploading your virus to their computer system. Dan worked at his research tablet. For 3 days, he had been preparing a computer virus that would disrupt the alien ship's sensors. It was not very advanced, but it did. Not need to be. It just needed to work for a few minutes. Uploading now, Dan said. Should hit their systems in about 2 minutes. The alien ship opened fire on the human fleet. Bright beams of energy shot across space. The human ship scattered and returned fire. Their weapons were not as powerful as the alien guns, but they were fast and could move quickly. Admiral Sullivan's voice came through the communicator. Jake, their weapons are incredibly powerful. We can't get close enough to do serious damage. Just keep them busy for 2 more minutes, Jake said. Amy, start the engines. Amy pressed buttons on her control panel. The mining equipment that she had connected to the ship's systems came to life. It was not the ship's real engines, but it would move them forward. Slowly, the Defiance began moving toward the alien ship. The alien ship was much larger than the human vessels. Could probably destroy all 5 human ships if given enough time. Yet the human ships were faster, and they worked together. Flew around the alien ship like angry insects, firing their weapons, and then moving away before the aliens could hit them. Dan, is the virus working? Jake asked. Dan looked at his tablet. Yes, Captain. Our sensors are starting to malfunction. They're having trouble tracking our fleet's movements. Jake could see the battle clearly now. Human ships were doing well, but they could not win. The alien ship was too strong. Its weapons were too powerful. But that was okay. Jake did not need them to win. He just needed them to keep the aliens distracted. Amy, how long until we reach them? Jake asked. Amy checked her readings. 3 minutes at current speed, Captain. Jake looked at his crew. These brave people had worked for 3 days to make this moment possible. They had turned their broken ship into a weapon. They had fooled the aliens completely. Now, they were going to show the galaxy what humans could do when they were pushed too far. Lisa, open a channel to all ships, Jake said. Lisa worked at her communicator. Channel open, Captain. Jake spoke clearly so everyone could hear him. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the UHS Defiance. To all human ships, to all listening alien vessels, to anyone who can hear this message. We want you to know that humanity does not surrender. We do not give up. We do not bow down to bullies. Jake paused and looked out at the alien ship. It was getting bigger as they approached. He could see its weapons firing at the human fleet. He could see the alien soldiers moving around inside through the windows. "They thought disabling our ship would end us," Jake continued. "They thought we would die quietly in the cold and dark. They were wrong. We are humans. We adapt. We survive. We fight back." Jake turned to Amy. "On my mark, detonate the charges." Amy held the detonator ready. Ben watched the distance readings. Lisa kept the communication channel open. Dan prepared to shut down the alien sensors completely. The Defiance was now very close to the alien ship. Jake could see alien faces looking out at them through windows. They looked surprised. They'd not expected the dead human ship to be moving. "Now, Dan," Jake said. Dan activated his virus completely. The alien ship's sensors went dark. They could no longer see the human fleet clearly. They could not track the approaching ships. "Now, Amy," Jake said. Amy pressed the button. The mining charges exploded all around the Defiance at the same moment. The ship became a giant fireball racing toward the alien vessel. Jake felt the explosion throw him against the wall. The bridge filled with bright light and heat. This was the end for him and his crew. But it was not the end of their fight. The burning wreckage of the Defiance smashed into the side of the alien ship. The mining explosives tore through the alien hull like it was made of paper. Holes opened up all along the massive vessel. Air and alien bodies were sucked out into space. But the real damage was still coming. Ben had calculated perfectly. The explosion hit the alien ship's antimatter containment system. Jake's crew could not see what happened next, but Admiral Sullivan and the human fleet watched in amazement. The antimatter containment failed. Blue energy began leaking from the alien ship's power core. The leaks got bigger and bigger. More energy escaped. The alien ship began shaking apart from the inside. "Admiral?" Sullivan spoke into her communicator, but she knew Jake could not hear her anymore. "You did it, Jake. You magnificent bastard. You actually did it." The alien ship tried to control the antimatter leak, but it was too late. The explosion grew bigger and bigger. Pieces of the huge vessel began breaking off. Then the whole ship exploded in a flash of light brighter than a star. The explosion was so big that it lit up the entire star system. The human ships had to move away quickly to avoid being damaged. When the light faded, nothing was left of the alien vessel except tiny pieces of metal floating in space. But the destruction was not finished yet. The alien ship had been orbiting close to a planet called Kepler 438b for months. The aliens had been mining this planet for valuable metals. They had dug huge holes deep into the planet's surface. They'd weakened the planet's structure. When the antimatter explosion happened, the energy wave hit the planet. The damaged planet could not handle the massive shock. Deep underground, the planet's core began to crack. Huge earthquakes started shaking the surface. Admiral Sullivan watched through her ship's telescopes. "My God," she said, "the whole planet is breaking apart." The mining operations had made the planet unstable. The antimatter explosion was the final push that the planet could not survive. Massive volcanoes erupted all over the surface. The planet's crust began splitting open like a broken egg. Admiral Sullivan ordered her ships to move to a safe distance. They watched as an entire world destroyed itself. Mountains fell into the ocean. Continents broke apart and drifted away from each other. The planet was dying. Other alien ships in the system saw what was happening. These were smaller vessels that had been helping with the mining operation. When they saw their flagship destroyed and the planet collapsing, they ran away as fast as they could. The alien ships that escaped would tell other aliens what they had seen. They would tell them that 5 humans with a broken ship had destroyed their most powerful vessel. They would tell them that the humans had made an entire planet break apart. Admiral Sullivan sent a message to all the human colonies. "This is Admiral Kate Sullivan. Captain Jake Morrison and the crew of the UHS Defiance have won a great victory today. They have shown the galaxy that humanity will never surrender." The news of the battle spread quickly through human space. Every colony and every ship heard about what Jake and his crew had done. They had taken mining equipment and spare parts and turned them into a weapon that destroyed an alien warship. But the news also spread to alien civilizations. The species that had considered humans to be weak and primitive began to think differently. If humans could do this much damage with a disabled ship, what could they do when they were properly prepared for war? The alien empire that had attacked the Defiance decided to stay away from human space. They did not want to fight a species that could blow up planets when they were angry. Other alien civilizations also became more careful around humans. 6 months later, humans began preparing for the war they knew was coming. Every human ship was modified with new weapons based on what Jake's crew had done. Every space station was turned into a fortress. Every colony was ready to fight. The aliens had taught humans an important lesson. In space, any tool could become a weapon. Any ship could become a missile. Any person could become a hero if they refused to give up. Jake Morrison and his crew became famous throughout human space. Songs were written about them. Children learned their names in school. Statues were built to honor their sacrifice. But the most important thing they did was prove that humans could not be defeated by simply disabling their technology. Humans were dangerous because they could adapt. They could survive. They could turn any situation into an opportunity to fight back. Admiral Sullivan wrote the final report about the battle. She ended it with words that became humanity's new battle cry. They thought disabling our ship would end us. They were wrong. Dead wrong. The alien empire eventually tried to invade human space with a massive fleet. They expected to find weak, primitive humans who would surrender quickly. Instead, they found humans who had learned to turn everything into a weapon. Every human cargo ship became a missile. Every mining station became a bomb. Every repair tool became a gun. The aliens found themselves fighting an enemy that could make weapons out of anything. The war lasted for 3 years. When it ended, the alien empire no longer existed. Humans had not just defended themselves, they had won completely. And it all started because 5 humans in a broken ship refused to give up. Jake Morrison and his crew had shown the galaxy that humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology. It was their determination to never surrender. The galaxy learned to respect humans after that, not because humans were the strongest or the smartest, but because they were the most stubborn. When humans decided to fight, they would find a way. To win, no matter what the odds were against them, Jake and his crew were gone. But their spirit lived on in every human who faced impossible odds and decided to fight anyway.